Control Podcast. I am your host, Ronick. And before I introduce my special guest, I want to give a special shout out to Miro Spray Graffiti Shop here in downtown Bakersfield for sponsoring this show, letting us come into the shop, providing the equipment. Make sure to check them out, mirospray.com. Also, make sure to head over to ganocontrol.com, grab yourself a t shirt, a hoodie, a poster, and much more things. This allows us to be financially stable to come in and do more episodes, shoot more content for you guys, and bring in this really dope conversations. And today, I'm here sitting with a Bakersfield own Sage One. Did I say it right?
Sager.
Sager, sorry about that.
You're good, bro.
Sager, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. It's a beautiful Sunday morning.
I want to thank you for stopping by today. I know it's last minute, but we made it happen, and let's jump right into this, brother. For those out there that when they mention Bakersfield and don't really understand what's out here, they're kind of like, what is that? Where is that type thing? Can you tell us a little bit about Bakersfield in general, the city?
Uh, oh. I mean, from my experience, I feel like Bakersfield, very peaceful area. But then again, it just depends where you live.
Yeah.
But as for riders, or this territory, I'd say I'd say your best options are trains.
Up here.
But even then, all those spots are like nowadays they're locked up. But there's ways of getting in there.
Okay.
And the spots in town, I mean, and the cops here, man, they're relentless.
Gotcha.
And they're not as easy as LAPD. I mean, even out there, but still out here is way worse. So you got to really watch your back.
Bakersfield to me reminds me a lot of like a very slow and calm city where like it's not very fast moving, kind of like LA.
Yeah, it's getting there with these new freeways that they're building.
Yeah.
Building more houses towards the west. It's just growing, little by little. With all these freeways, it kind of reminds me of that LA freeway
Yeah.
kind of thing, but
We just want to make sure that the microphone's right next to you so we can get good audio. Sorry about that.
you're fine.
There we go.
Um,
Yeah, I've noticed that, like me coming into Bakersfield, I noticed that it was kind of a little bit of like not so. How can you say like they don't move as you guys don't move as fast as LA out here,
yeah, I agree.
But
In a way, I kind of like that because whenever I go out there, it's like
everything's all fast and everything.
yeah, there's so much going on, but you got to be aggressive when you drive. There's no like, oh, you go ahead. No, no, no. You got to fucking get your ass in there.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they won't let you.
For you, brother, being creative, as far as anything in general, whether it was playing an instrument or drawing or whatnot, how did that initially engage for you? How did that come about for you?
Like as a child,
Yeah, as a child coming up.
I feel like I did it for traumatic reasons.
Okay.
Starting off, and then I just grew from there. And I just kind of just stuck with it ever
Gotcha.
since I was a kid. And it was one thing I tend to be good at, so just wanted to keep progressing in that. I never really got into instruments too much or into sports, so art was my outlet.
Was art always part of your creative process? Like, is that the first thing that you started doing as a creative individual?
Yeah, I think so.
How did that begin for you? Was it kind of just grabbing some crayons and coloring some cartoons, or was it more
One
than
of
that?
the earliest memories that I have of drawing, without really caring what I was drawing, was in my uncle's house back when I was maybe like 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
I drew all over their walls. And no for no. I mean that's kid stuff.
Yeah.
I think I would say it's pretty common, but still that's one of my earliest memories.
Gotcha.
You know.
Yeah, for me, I could kind of resemble to the same experience being a kid and trying to draw, and my mom telling me like, "Hey, I need you to be a doctor. Quick, put that away."
Yeah, man. Yeah, like, I guess I definitely got that feel from my parents too. Like what you're doing is like that's not profitable. You're not
Yeah.
gonna get anything. And I know that for the most part. I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting anything. This
I,
is just out of love for the art.
I think that could definitely put weight on your shoulders, like loving something so much and pursuing it.
Yeah.
But then in the back of the head, having like family members like, "Hey, man, you gotta get to the bills. You gotta get to pay this, pay that." So it definitely could put some weight on your shoulders. You know what I mean?
What's crazy too is that yesterday I had brought a canvas to the show yesterday.
Yeah.
It was like a bird with the thorns around it, and I was working on it yesterday before I brought it, and my mom comes into the garage and sees me working on it, and as she's talking to me, she tells me like, like like this is what you're doing right here is like it's not gonna work out, in those in those words. And I kind of just keep to I don't really say anything to it. She's gonna say what she wants to say, and you know the future will tell what happens.
Yeah, man, you're definitely right. Like, I mean, like I said, bro, I've gone through the same experiences, and I'm just like, it's like being with a girl, right? You get a toxic ass girl that nobody in the family likes, and every time she comes, oh, hide them behind the beer, or hide my favorite cookies because she's gonna eat them, but you're still gonna be with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's the same thing with graffiti. Like, no matter what it does to you, whether it's positive or negative, if you really love it, you're gonna keep pursuing and doing it.
exactly. Yeah.
So you start drawing as a child, right? You start doodling around with some markers, crayons, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But at what point do you kind of adjust yourself to, like, you know what, this is something that I'm gonna go from just doing to pass some time and get myself right to now I really want to be something in this.
Um. Okay. If I understand the question right, from like kindergarten to about middle school,
Yeah.
I was drawing pretty much consistently,
Mhm.
and not so much graffiti. It was illustrations here and there, and then middle school, then it became graffiti, and, then once I got into high school, I got expelled from my middle school. I got into a whole bunch of trouble, so it's like I stopped for a while. Like basically
Okay.
all of high school, I would just draw during class sometimes, but I wasn't really painting. And then it wasn't until I got out of high school by around 20. I mean, I graduated in 2015, but I started getting active again around 2017,
Yeah.
and that's when I started back up again. And soon after that, less than a year, but I caught a felony case, so that set me back a little bit too. But I was still drawing in my black books, practicing.
You caught a felony case for graffiti.
Yeah, here in Bakersfield. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So before I hop into catching the case and the consequences of painting, how did graffiti itself stumble across your path? Because you go from drawing,
oh,
right? And
mhm.
how does graffiti enter your life?
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. My sister, her ex boyfriend,
Yeah.
back when I was like in fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade.
Yeah.
At the time, he introduced me to graffiti, and I've already known about it. I remember seeing Melt's, character around the city, and I fell in love with that thing. And all the tags from like HTK, A2A, TFC, a bunch of other crews, and I was memorized by their flares, and yeah. But like I said, around fourth, fifth grade, my sister's ex boyfriend kind of showed me the ropes a little bit,
Yeah.
and from there I kind of just used the internet, YouTube, and Google Images and Flickr and photo bucket just to kind of learn and see what the styles are, what exists, you know.
What year would you say this was?
I want to say '08, '09, you know, around there. Uh, and yeah, that's probably around the time. Yeah.
What did your sister tell the boyfriend? Like, you motherfucker, you're teaching my little brother how to be like you.
Somewhat, yeah,
Yeah.
because I do remember her saying like, oh, was it my parents? No, I'm pretty sure it was her. She told him like, oh, you shouldn't be teaching him this. Like, he's gonna get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, and I remember him saying like, he's just a kid. Like, just let him, do what he wants. It's just he's just drawing, you know. I mean, he didn't know I was gonna,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna get in a case in the future, but still,
Would you say it's fair to say that he was kind of like your first mentor to kind of like teach you style?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Shout out to the homie, by the way, for putting you up on game.
And if I remember right, he used to write Chief,
Okay.
CHEIF,
Chief.
or the other way around,
Yeah. Yeah.
IEF. Yeah.
Definitely, man. So you get introduced to graffiti by your boy. I mean, by your sister. Sorry, by your sister's ex-boyfriend.
Hmm.
Um, how do you go about developing your name? Is it given to you, or do you come up with the name yourself?
That was something I kind of struggled with growing up because I always thought it was something it was given to you.
Yeah.
Because my sister, when she was in high school, they called her Confused,
Confused.
and I remember her like one of her friends tagged her name in her notebook, and I
Yeah.
thought it was really cool. And and it's like no one's giving me a name, and I don't know anybody that does graffiti besides her boyfriend. They already broke up by the time I got serious about it,
Yeah.
and you know, like I said, like I didn't have any friends that really did graffiti or really into it like that. So I kind of just had to give myself my name, and I've had a bunch of different names before Sager,
Yeah, yeah.
So, ultimately, I was just trying to find the right letter structure that I wanted, and that still had some meaning behind it to who I was in a way. And so, I ended up with Sager.
You mentioned letter structure, right? Like, how important was it to have style for you? Was that something that was kind of put on you by your early mentor, or is that something that came in within?
That I wouldn't say he pushed proportions and like
Yeah,
letter structure and all that on me. It was kind of just, you just do what you want, whatever comes out. But I started learning more about that as I watched like the legends,
yeah.
grow, and just seeing how they write. I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be
Gotcha.
structured. I want to be well proportioned. I want to have clean lines. I want to have good technique, and and that's what I aim. That's how I'm trying to aim for
Mm.
on almost every piece that I do. If I'm not being lazy.
What are some of these legends that you were seeing?
Oh well, I mean, for the most iconic ones, Revoke
Yeah.
was the most prolific in my life. Saber as well, and um, I mean, I hate to be so how to say I'm picking the most common like out there
Yeah,
writers,
yeah.
but I mean that's just what it is. They're the ones that influence me the most. Um, I mean, on top of that, I mean, and off the top of my head, I can't name that many people.
How
Uh,
about Bakersfield in whole? Like, who are you seeing in Bakersfield you could say that kind of like inspire you to build that proportion and letter structure?
well, I didn't meet him till later,
Yeah,
and I didn't even know about him honestly. But once I met him and I saw his work, I
yeah.
was mesmerized. Fucking on Swear
Swear.
from A&T. He man, he is dedicated to his work,
Yeah,
and he's taught me a lot of stuff about trains, and how he gets his clean lines. And I wouldn't say I use his methods all the time because it's very how do you take this? You got to be very disciplined
okay.
to get his clean work.
And that's something that I feel like the general public don't understand. Like, graffiti is not easy.
It's not, man. It
If
really
you,
isn't.
I know they make it seem like it's very simple, and they simplify it on social media and videos
Mm.
like that. But at the end of the day, you have to have can control.
Yes,
You
yeah,
have to know how to proportion your letters right. Because if you have an R, but the K is three times that R,
yeah.
it might not look right, right?
Right, right.
And then blending in your colors, knowing your cools from your darks and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's definitely something that takes time to develop. You're
it
just not
does.
gonna
Yeah,
start painting today and be pro by tomorrow.
right. I mean, those who do, I mean, props to you, man. You know.
So you entered the graffiti world. You stumbled across the path through your sister's ex boyfriend, right?
Mhm.
At what point do you take the initiative to like now I'm gonna hit the streets, now I'm gonna be out there and then now I'm gonna put in the work?
Like, what year? What do you mean?
No, at what point do you tell yourself like how long is it the transaction from hanging out with him and him
Mm.
kind of teaching you the ropes to where like now I'm gonna go do this on my own type thing?
Pretty soon after. Pretty
Yeah.
soon after. I would say about sixth grade,
Okay.
fifth or sixth grade. I started going out at night, sneaking out of the house, and just hitting mailboxes. Local walls. They're just around my street corner, so I'm not too far away.
Yeah.
Cause I gotta get home before my parents wake up.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And yeah, that was about, I don't know, around like maybe 2010 to '09, around there.
What was available as far as like if you wanted to get some stuff to write with at that time out
Oh,
here?
dude, whatever I could find in the garage, because I couldn't walk all the way to the store. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember wrecking a can from Floyd's, like a long ass time ago. I put it in my pants and like
Yeah.
I get in the back seat of the car. And my dad's like, "What are you doing back there?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Nothing." I just got a Krylon can on my my
Yeah.
leg, but
Cause
uh,
did you guys have like graph shops at that time out here?
there was the one that Mel worked at, which was called Blowing Smoke, I believe.
Blowing smoke.
Yeah, it was on Chester, and that was the first spot I got my own Montana can.
Oh.
Um, and I hate that my dad threw that shit away, but
I don't want you right. I don't want you with
yeah,
this.
yeah. I hid my cans inside of a speaker too.
Yeah.
I took out the speaker and I put the cover back on. I put
Yeah.
my cans inside.
And he
But
still got a hold of
yeah,
it.
he still got a
He
hold
knew
of
your
it.
stash spot.
Yeah, yeah.
How was that, bro? Like entering this culture and then you go to a shop that's like it's for the culture.
It was a really cool feeling, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like being in here. You got all these colors around you. It's like
Yeah.
these don't exist in like stores like Walmart and Home Depot.
I
I
don't.
mean, they do, but I mean, not like this. Not where it's like pro material, you know. You know, it's just it was so cool holding that can in my hands. Like this is like I don't know, just a really cool can. And then the old Montana logos, man, I'm in love with that. I own like I think maybe like 12, 13 cans.
Original
Uh,
Montanas?
yeah, original
Oh
Montanas,
wow.
and you know I'm still trying to collect whenever I can.
I remember when they barely came in, bro. It was a little like a bumpy road because it was like it cost us so much. Are
Hmm.
people gonna pay that much money for it?
Yeah.
But I think them having so many colors, it's what kind of got people like whatever, let's go,
Hmm.
because they got so much colors. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They
Yeah.
kind of dominated the palette.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like very eye opening because it was like Belton and then them,
Hmm.
and I was like, whoa! Now there's all these colors, right? You go
Yeah.
from just grabbing a couple colors to go do a throw to now you got enough colors to do a whole damn production.
Exactly, man. Yeah. And it definitely gives you more options to what you can paint, what you can create. You know, and I'm really thankful for that.
And did you always ride solo? Like was it always like a solo dolo type thing, or did you eventually enter, or did you enter a crew right away?
No, for the most part, I was solo for a while
Yeah,
until I got, you know, I got introduced to those other writers in Bakersfield.
yeah,
You know, Relas, Run It, um, how many others? Wacer. Um, damn, I can't name them all off the top of my head, but dude was a big influence too when he moved into Bakersfield.
yeah.
He's the one who was helped me introduce to a lot of other people as well. And like I met Mel like back in like around 2017 when I was barely starting to write again.
Yeah.
And you know, he did a canvas for me, you know, and I'm really appreciative of that. He didn't even charge me for that. So respect for you, Mel. Thank you.
Shout out Melt.
And uh, where was I going with this?
We were talking about entering a crew.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like I was solo for a pretty long time until dude came in the picture,
Yeah,
and I told him, you know, I remember we were in his old apartment, and you know, I think he asked me, you know, what kind of cruise, or if you ever thought of joining a crew, which who would you want to be with, and you know, I'm aiming high,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you know, if I could, I would love to be an MSK.
Gotcha.
That was my first option, but I mean, BEMC, their style was so wild, so creative, so grimy,
Yeah, yeah.
so detailed,
Shout out to
and
BMC by the way.
yeah, man, and I fell in love with their work as well. You know, Acro, Fossil, Buger, Asti, Zwan, you know, so many writers, you know, around the world, and especially in LA, and you know, I just fell in love with their work, and I'm so grateful that they were willing to accept me. You know, you know, Copy is a really humble and cool individual.
And Bakersfield, was there already like a dominated crew, like the crew to be like the crew of the crew type thing?
I mean, I'm not really sure, because by the time I was older, the graffiti had died down,
Yeah,
and you know there wasn't really any crews out there. I remember BWSK, that like they were getting up a little bit, you know, toward around that time, around 2016, 2017. I think WH something, um, but not that I know of personally. I mean, I remember the top crews when I was a kid, seeing growing up was HTK, TFC. Whenever I would see their hit ups, I mean, there was pretty. They would do pretty big stuff on the freeways. What is another one? What is it called? Jeez, damn, I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But they had a really cool letter structure too. Um, but yeah, no, it's like like I said, I didn't know anybody in Graph at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Just whatever I saw on the streets. Besides my sister's boyfriend.
How
Um,
was high school? There was graffiti like impactful in high school?
no, not really.
It was kind of like very underground, like you kind of know someone type thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. I knew like a couple people in high school, and um, you know, that did graffiti, but they weren't very active either. It was just all black book and stuff. And
Were you from BAM already? BAMC in high school already?
oh no, no, no,
No,
no,
okay, okay.
no,
This
no.
happened later
That was
on.
way later.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay. So that was as you got older.
yeah. As I got older, yeah.
You know, for anybody out there listening to this that was kind of like doesn't know nothing about Bakersfield graffiti, what's something you feel the world should know about what Bakersfield brings to the table?
You got a lot of blank spots.
Yeah,
You know, you got a lot of dedicated writers. You know that still love the craft. And that's what we have to offer as a city.
No, I mean as the culture as
As a,
one.
as a culture,
Yeah.
yeah, no, there's so much support here,
Yeah.
especially nowadays. You know, back then, like everybody was just doing their own thing. As far as I know, I didn't really know much. I wasn't into social media and all.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's growing. It's definitely growing. You know.
Do you find it interesting, bro, that now it kind of seems or it feels like you have to have a social media presence as a writer just because, I mean, it's alive on social media. Is that something that's important to you?
Mm, I mean, if I want to build a profile to where I can sell my work and not just do it for free,
Yeah.
then yeah. But as you just want to do the art just to get up, and more power to you.
Yeah.
And you don't need to have a social media to do that.
Gotcha.
As long as you know you did it, you pass by it, and you say like, yeah, it's still there. That's what's up.
Definitely.
That's what matters at the end of the day. Um, Unfortunately, I can't put my name up in Bakersfield anymore because they already got me on file.
Gotcha.
And I'm afraid even if I make a new name, they'll just recognize my style from my
And be
social
like,
media or
it's
something.
the same guy.
Yeah, and they'll just do a whole another investigation on me.
Talking about style, can you take me into like what it is that moves you when it comes to developing and painting a style? Like before you hit the wall and you have a blank wall, how does it process in your mind? Like, do you do the background first, then do the letters, or do you do the letters first? How does that go about?
This is one thing that Swear A&T kind of helped me on, and I would go back and forth, like going from like filling the letters, doing background, filling letters, doing background, and it does help a lot to do the background first. That way you do your clean lines over it,
Yeah.
and then sometimes you got to go back and forth just to create some depth. But other than that, that's I'd say you start from background, outline, or fill in, outline, highlights, and whatever little doodads you want to do on top of that.
Is character development important for you? Like, do you like to incorporate characters into your pieces?
I want to try to more and more,
Okay.
and that's more so for the public, like when the trains are passing by,
Yeah.
they're not just seeing a bunch of letters that they can't read. They'll see something illustrative where it's a lion, it's whatever it may a wolf, whatever. I like to do nature stuff, so
Yeah.
I like to go towards the animals. But it's more for the people that don't know graffiti, but they can learn to appreciate it if they see something illustrative. I see something, this, they went out of the way to do something dope that we can understand,
Yeah.
at least with our eyes. Um, because I mean, yeah, it's dope to see graph, but not everyone can appreciate it. And I'm aiming more towards the people that can see it and understand it to some degree, and and fall in love with it. Without
I feel like you're right, bro. You know what I mean? Like I totally agree with you. And I also believe that coming up as a youngster, right? Those emotions and experiences you go through mold you as the person you become, and then that transfers into the artist you become, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, you might have a guy that one day he's seen a fucking funny looking rat, and that becomes his cartoon character, and it comes from an
Yeah.
emotion and a feeling.
Yeah.
Have you ever had those emotions and feelings in your work?
Um, in a sense, yeah. I mean, cause I'll draw something, but I won't always paint it.
Yeah.
I'll just draw it, get the idea down, but yeah, I'd say I've experienced that before. I never made anything a signature,
Yeah.
but I've drawn my own fair share of my thoughts and feelings from things that I've seen and how I felt about it.
I think
Yeah.
yourself, your very self, could be your biggest critique.
Oh,
Someone could tell you like, man, that's super sick,
Ugh.
and then you're looking at it like, nah, bro, look at that ear right there, hell nah. You know
No.
what I mean?
I totally agree, man, 100%. Because whenever somebody comes up to me while I'm painting, it's like, oh, it's coming out dope, and I just gotta say,
Yeah.
say thank you and I appreciate it, and but in my head, there's a lot of little things that I'm missing, and even now, the piece I did yesterday, I missed a spot.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little spot about this big.
That no one can see it,
Yeah,
but you can.
but I saw it,
Yeah.
and I didn't see it till after I got home. I was like, oh fuck. Now I look like a toy.
Yeah.
And that's just in my head.
No, I think I could definitely relate to that. Where like, just telling yourself like it's not enough. I gotta get better. It's not
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah.
So, that's the process and the beauty of it. But, you know, getting back into the Bakersfield graffiti community, right? Like early on when you were coming up, right? It was kind of like on your own type thing, and then eventually started meeting people. But at what point did you kind of like start like painting among other Bakersfield writers?
Mm. That around the same time, around I think after 2017.
Yeah,
I want to say whenever I came back in like 2019,
yeah.
around there. I started meeting up with some writers like Run It, Waster, um, Juicer, um, who else, Dude. But most of the times I really paint it by myself, and that's more so on me because I tend to take a long time when I paint, and I don't talk much, so it's hard for me to conversate and build a relationship with people, and that's something I need to work on. But um, you know, I still have a lot of respect for all these writers, man, and all the kindness and compassion they give me.
How was the COVID era in Bakersfield? Because during COVID, it felt like everybody was home and you could just go hit the streets and kill it. No one's gonna tell you nothing.
I was still painting during COVID.
Yeah,
That didn't stop me, and especially since I paint by myself, I just go to the trains and I'm chilling,
yeah.
and I mean, as long as I could buy my paint online, I just get it shipped to me. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, cause I know back where I was at, it was impossible to get paint because no all the shops were closed, so it was kind of like online, but then
Yeah.
online was making it a little bit difficult because there was so much traffic online
Mm,
because of what was going on.
yeah.
So it did become a little bumpy road, but I mean, I think it was a shifting point like for the world in general, just not graffiti.
I think back when Dude was here,
Yeah,
I think the reason why 2020 came a little bit easier, I don't maybe I didn't really even buy much paint because when Dude was here, he was selling dang paint,
yeah,
and I remember before he left to LA or he moved out of Bakersfield, I bought like $700 worth of dang paint from him, and I was stocked up from there for a good while,
yeah.
so I didn't even need to buy paint. At that,
Have
yeah,
you heard about that new Rusto can they're bringing out?
yeah, I've seen it.
What is your opinion on that?
I think it's too expensive. I
It's
mean,
like what,
honestly,
like almost $10 a can, right?
yeah, and I saw their website. It's like if you buy like more than I don't know however many,
Yeah.
it probably brings out the price to like seven something.
Oh
Like
wow.
that's still expensive. It's not really worth it to me.
I wanted to dive into getting into BEMC crew, right?
Hmm.
For some crews, it's kind of like you gotta work your way into getting in there. Like kind of like first, let me see your black book, or first you gotta start hanging out and, you know, paying with us, and then kind of like probation type thing.
Hmm.
Is that something that you experienced?
Damn, my legs asleep. Give me a second. Um, yeah, because like the whole reason I even got into BMC was thanks to Dude, because
Okay.
he brought Buge out here to Bakersfield to paint a wall over
Okay.
there on Truxton
Yeah.
or Edison or somewhere around there, and you know, and I got to meet him, and maybe I could have still got his BMC on my own. It would just take a little more time. Um, but thanks to Buge, I got and Dude, I got to meet Buge, and he saw a little bit of my work, which wasn't my best at all. I was nervous, and I went in with a different design, and
Yeah.
it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. But he still gave me some acknowledgement, and shook my hand, and took my information down, and he just kind of watched me from there for the next two years, and I just kept trying to progress, and ultimately, after like 2 years or something, uh, copy hit me up saying, hey, your your time is up. You're in,
Yeah.
and
How was that feeling for you? Like, damn, I'm in now.
it was great, man. It was fucking great. I felt very honored.
Yeah.
You know, um, you know, uh, I mean, I just couldn't wait. I'm just glad I got in. Um, and then from there, like, just keep doing my thing.
Definitely. I wanna read some of the comments on the chat real quick. So we have Mob Nasty, hide the beer. I don't know what that means, bro.
Tried the beer.
YBG310. Orale, homie. We got, how do you say that? Gans? Ganz? Felt that, bro. I like going alone sometimes to paint because nobody to worry about by myself. Get to take my time. Don't have to worry about them making dumb sounds, etc.
Okay.
Hey, shout out to everybody on the chat. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys have a question. We're here to answer them. Um, this felony that you caught,
Hmm.
how did that go about?
So that's completely my fault.
Yeah.
I take full blame for that for that stupidity, man. Cause for me wanting to get more followers on Instagram,
Yeah.
my dumbass put my ad on out there, on
Oh,
stickers and stuff,
yeah, yeah.
and they found out that's all what they found out, and they fucking, so they got into my emails, found my address, found that I was buying off Art Primo, and they raided my house.
Wow.
It's completely on me, and that I claim that stupidity, 100%.
They just came in like tore down the door.
Nah, I don't think they went through all that. They came in with a warrant, and they took all my stuff.
Damn.
No,
Over just put in the ad.
yeah, yeah, and from there, that I was doing illegal stuff,
Yeah.
so they.
You think they kind of sat down a bit and let you do it to a certain amount, or like,
Oh,
oh, now
yeah.
we could come get this guy?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What's crazy too is that they came and raided my house the day before my birthday. And I was, and I did like, what the fuck? You waited till I was 21.
Yeah.
Till I was 21 to come get me.
Damn.
I mean, not 18 or 21 doesn't matter, but.
But they let you go, right? It's not like you served time.
No, I mean, I paid my dues. I paid back what I had to owe, and
Yeah.
and I did my community service. Was it? I forgot what it's called. Probation release, something like that. I did my time with that community service, and I paid my dues. I didn't do prison time since
Yeah.
I bailed out, and they,
Sounds like Bakersfield ain't playing when it comes to graffiti.
nah, dude, they don't play.
They
fucking
take
play.
it like very seriously out here.
Yeah,
That's how it is back home, bro. They catch you with a can, they start tripping.
yeah. And this fuck, I forget his name. I always forget his name, but he does some dope ass characters on the freeway all the time.
Yeah.
And the Buffman bro gets him on like every week, or
Damn.
however whenever he does it. But it's pretty fast whenever they buff.
So the city's out here like not playing. Like you're gonna paint something, we're gonna come buff you out.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy,
Yeah.
bro.
It's always unfortunate, man. Things don't last as long, at least in some areas.
Something that I want to share, bro. When I was coming into Bakersfield, as soon as you get to that "Welcome to Bakersfield" sign, I started seeing Graph on the freeway, and I was like, "Whoa, that's dope!" There's a throwy here, some tags over here, the whole way down here to downtown Bakersfield, and I thought that was dope. I was like, "Oh, it's alive out here."
I agree. There is some graffiti, but I can't help but compare it to the way it was back in like 2012,
Yeah,
09, around that area, where it was grilled.
yeah,
The
yeah.
whole freeway was grilled, and it was quality work, not just hollows and a few fill-ins. It was quality work that you can admire, and it's just not at the moment. It's not all like that right now. Some people are putting in the work and putting good quality work out there, but at the same time, it doesn't even last.
What do you say to that guy that's kind of like, I don't care about style. I just want to put my name up there. I don't care what it looks like.
I mean, it's your paint. You do what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I can really say about that.
Cause I'm on the same boat. I admire seeing a full on burner where you're just like, whoa, that's super dope. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. Same.
Not to knock down nobody out there. I mean, to each his own. Like
No,
you said, it's your pain. You can do whatever you want with it. But I feel like you would want to be the best at it.
Yeah, but for the people that just do tags and throwies,
Yeah.
dude, the something they do is so much where they get super clean lines in their throwies, super
Yeah.
well proportioned in their throwies and their tags, and that's really respectable too.
Yeah.
So not to knock them at all.
And that's what I was having this conversation the other day, because somebody will see a tag and be like, "Oh, effing taggers or effing riders or whatnot," but I tell them like, that's the evolution of it. Everybody starts with the scribble.
Yeah.
Nobody
that's true.
comes out the womb,
Yeah,
burner. You know what I
exactly,
mean? It's not
exactly,
gonna
right.
happen.
Yeah, no,
You gotta develop. You gotta scribble something and build.
exactly, man. It takes a lot of time.
Have you had the chance to travel to paint, like out of United States?
Out of the United States, no.
Okay.
No. The farthest I've gone was New York, and out there I just did a couple, fill-ins. It was just a chrome fill-in with a black outline, and some tags. I didn't have time to do pieces and all that. I was only there for a couple days.
How was New York for you? Like getting there, as far as just seeing everything around there.
What do you mean, getting there or being
No,
there?
no, like being there for whatever reason you were there,
Hmm.
but then absorbing the graffiti that was out there. How was, in your opinion, how was it out there, the graffiti?
It felt very nostalgic.
Okay,
Watch feeling. I'm sorry. Playing that game, getting up.
mm-hmm.
It felt just like that in a sense.
Gotcha.
From the city structures to the type of throws that are out there and tags, it all looked very similar. And it just felt very nostalgic being there. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely different out there, bro. Like the greats come from there. You
Yeah.
start thinking about like wall style and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
Dondi. Like
Yeah.
so many people that came out there and they're still carrying their to the highest level. You know what I mean? So I could definitely just imagine the nostalgia that you got just being there because of the greatness that stepped there.
Yeah, man, and that's where it kind of all stemmed from too. I think there were among the people that I first started recognizing when I first started learning about graffiti
Yeah.
was like Cope Two, um, Phase, what was the other one? Man, I can't remember. Cipher and this other old head. I can't remember right now. Cornbread, obviously,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, just various others.
Yeah. It's like, man, to me, it's interesting to see someone at their age is still going.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it just shows you how dedicated they are to this, and it's amazing. Shout out to all of them.
oh, the one I was forgetting, Scene.
Seeing
Scene as well. Really
that,
dope, dude.
like, dope,
Yeah.
man. What do you see your angle in this at? Do you see yourself doing gallery work, or do you see yourself doing more mural installations? Because I know you've done some here in Bakersfield, right?
Oh yeah, a couple. Um, I would like to do more murals. I like to do big stuff where I
Yeah,
don't need masking tape. I don't need to cut back as much.
yeah,
And it just makes a whole process a whole lot easier. Even though it's bigger and it takes time and it's a lot more physical, you know, I don't know. I find it easier, than painting on a canvas because you gotta let it dry. You gotta put masking tape or cut back and I definitely want to move into more canvas work. So when I just did, you like it was stressful but relaxing at the same time.
gotcha.
And if I can move into some gallery work where I can sell my stuff and make some money, then I got to do that. But mural work as well. But unfortunately, I don't have the right connections yet where I find people that are willing to pay for the quality work that I want to do.
Yeah,
And until that time comes, I'll just keep doing my thing on trains, canvases, and
because it definitely adds up.
find.
You need paint. You need
Yeah.
sometimes you might need a lift.
Yeah.
You might need a generator to run powers or spray guns or whatever,
Yeah.
and they could accumulate. So a budget is definitely something that I think would be necessary. And in my opinion, bro, the bigger the project, the faster it is to accomplish it.
Yeah.
I think the bigger, the faster for me.
Mm. Yeah.
Because instead of having to do so much little detail work, you could just let it flow.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
and like I mean, that you could do some big walls, and I think it's faster to incorporate a roller or you know what I mean can, and it just be like whoa,
Mhm.
rather than having like a little square and you just stuck at the little detail.
Yeah. Exactly, man. And even with canvases, when I do canvases, like I'm not gonna do small ones.
Yeah,
Preferably not small ones. I might do wide ones that are like maybe 1 foot tall, like the train I did that Run It bought off me.
yeah,
Thank you, Run It. And I might do some more of those, but preferably where I can use spray paint and just kind of do my own thing. And maybe I'll use some masking tape like I did with the last one. But it's so much faster to fill in than using a brush.
Can we expect any streetwear from you in the future?
Yeah,
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 t-shirts.
yeah. I have made some in the past. I'm not gonna use the same design. I'll try something more illustrative,
Okay.
something more appealing to the public, or maybe some more people that are not so much into graffiti, but like you know cold illustrations, dope illustrations, and I'll do that, and or incorporate my graffiti within it, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah, hopefully maybe later this year, maybe next year, as soon as I can.
In 2025, brother, what do you think keeps you cultivated to keep going and keep pursuing this?
My crew,
Yeah.
most definitely, because they're active, and seeing them inspires me to keep going and do better and progress. And and I got a lot to thank for them. Because they pushed me a long way. You know, I mean, considering there isn't a whole lot of work out here,
Yeah.
seeing what they do just keeps me going.
It's like
And
having like an art family. Like, hey,
exactly.
bro, what are you doing? You're slacking. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't really have here, at least growing up.
Yeah.
And maybe nowadays I do, but as a kid, like I didn't have anybody push me. I just did it because I wanted to, and it would have been cool to be able to relate to some more people growing up as a kid, but unfortunately I didn't have that. But it's cool. It worked out. There's a lot of dope artists now that I know nowadays, and I'm grateful for them.
A lot of people recognize you out here, right? Like yesterday at the show, and like they recognize you for your style and what you bring to the table. How does that make you feel, knowing that Bakersfield as a whole know who you are, and they give you the recognition for what you do and what you keep to do?
I'm grateful for it because it's. I mean, starting off with graffiti, that's all it is, creating a name for yourself,
Yeah.
and it's a dope feeling when there's people that actually know you now, you know, like I know I didn't really mean much. I mean, from speaking from an outside perspective,
Yeah.
like when I first started, like I'm just a toy, and I'm meeting all these cool other writers, and and I'm not meeting much now, but nowadays when I'm actually got better with my style and seeing them recognize me, it's a cool feeling. Um, I mean, I don't want to let it go to my head at all.
Yeah.
I need to stay humble and you know, and it, I don't know how to.
What would you say to the next generation of Bakersfield writers that are coming up right now that are looking at you kind of like, oh, that's one of the hometown homies right there. I gotta get like him.
What would I say to them?
Yeah.
I'd say practice, 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 practice as much as possible. You know, like I want to see the next generation like put in the work, put in the work to be better and better and better. You know, and really show that there's talent out here, and like you got people out here that just want to go out there and tag, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But like I said, back in like early 2000s, people were really going at it, going hard, and I know and I understand nowadays maybe it's not worth it, especially in Bakersfield, to really go out there and paint the streets like that. But man, it's just I can't help but compare like back in the day when people really tried,
Yeah.
you know, and put in full effort, and that's what I want to see with the newer generations. Maybe if it's not here, it's not here. That's fine. But newer generations around the world and in different cities, that's fine. And like I want to keep seeing that.
For Bakersfield, the city, right?
Hmm.
A lot of civilians out here look at graffiti very negative. They feel like they don't want to acknowledge it as an art form or as an art in general.
Hmm.
What would you say to those people that would watch this and are kind of like on that type of mentality? What would you say to them so they could understand graffiti better?
You see color on a wall, whatever shape or form it's in, it's art. It could, if you want to, call it abstract, it's abstract.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to call it scribbles, it's scribbles. But at the end of the day, it's still an art form. You know, it's that person's form of art, whoever drew that, and like at the end of the day, that's what it is. You can call it graffiti, you can call it vandalism, but the person that drew that did it out of, out of passion, out of their own mind, you know, and just gotta respect it as it is. It's still art. Um, I still like to follow the rules of graffiti, where I don't paint churches, I don't paint people's cars, unless it's like a bando car, But um, but yeah, no, I still try to follow those rules. In a sense.
Gotcha.
But where it's like if you paint a freeway wall, it's way different from painting somebody's house, you
Yeah.
know, and it'd be dope to see more graffiti on the freeway and stay there, because people are just driving by. They're not really worried about what's on the walls. They're worried about the traffic in front of them. So I
100%.
I see no harm in it.
2025, brother. What would you say is one of the best walls you've seen as far as burner or piece on the wall?
Mm, I gotta think about that. Besides the free wall over there on in California by the Mercado Latino,
Yeah.
that's a legal wall that's in town that has graffiti on
Don't
it.
gotta be legal. It could be anything. A wall in general, anywhere.
Okay, okay. Mm,
Something that kind of stood out, and you're like, whoa.
come on.
Even if it's from a crew member.
Well, the walls that when that dude did over there when there were trucks in,
Yeah.
we got all the local homies on it, and that wall came out pretty dope.
Yeah.
You know,
It was like a production.
yeah, it was a production.
Okay.
And, you know, and I believe it's still standing. I haven't been there in a little bit, but I believe it's still standing, and that was a pretty cool wall that's still there.
Gotcha.
You know, as for walls that I've seen randomly on the street, I don't see many, to be honestly.
Okay.
Like graffiti wise, no.
Okay.
And if it's there, it doesn't last long. You know, like I said, like that the
Buff man's out here trying to prove a point.
yeah, man, it is what it is. You know.
That damn my boy, do you ever take lunch?
Yeah, man, that's what they get paid to do, man. You know, and you're welcome. I mean, not from me, but from the other
Yeah.
writers in town. You're welcome.
I got 3 more questions before we get out of here, bro. One, for the freight scene out here. I did some scouting around. There's a lot of freights out here. Did you take part in that?
Yeah, yeah.
How would you distinguish the freight community out here to other communities like, I don't know, Los Angeles or any surrounding cities around?
I don't know. I can't say much for. I don't know about Los Angeles really. I feel like more people paint the street in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I think, but out here, since things get buffed really quick, you got most of the writers here that paint trains too, because
Okay.
they know it's gonna last a little bit longer. You know, so it's worth doing, and even if there's a risk involved, um, you know, there's the yards that we have nowadays, like at least in this time, it's gotten more hot, so there's a little more risk involved. So you got to pick your location wisely, and so where you can still be chill but not be too paranoid. Um, and there's only a handful of spots that as far as I know
Yeah.
that still exist here in town or in the area where you can go paint, you know, without having to worry too much. And you know, so I say freight is a good way to go. Um,
Super dope, man.
Mhm.
Super dope. Got another question for you.
Yeah.
Bakersfield gets called out to battle anywhere in the United States. They put you in charge. You could bring 4 guys with you. Who you bringing?
Mm. Top of my head, Run It, Mask, Mel. I would love to bring Sawyer, but he's very exclusive. Um, who else? Come on. My head's not cooperating with me
You're gonna
right
get that
now.
one coming. Why didn't you say me, fool?
I know. I can feel it already. But come on. I know. There's somebody else out there that I'm not thinking of right now.
They tell you, hey, it's time to come. It's time to come rock and roll from Bakersfield. You say you're gonna bring Melt. You said Melt.
Mel, Run It,
Run it. Mask.
Um,
One more. Let's get one more. Make it even 5.
Oh, damn it.
Your character guy.
Character guy. Bored.
Bored. There you go.
Bored. Yeah. Yeah, that fool's dope too. Really cool with his illustrations.
Hey, drop a comment. Let's make it happen. We bring them all out.
Hey, if our schedules line up, bro, let's do it.
2 last questions I got for you, brother.
Yeah, man.
One, if you could change anything, whether it be in the past, present, in the graffiti culture, what would it be?
Say past, present, and what? Future as well?
No, anything, whether it be the past or the present, that you could
Mm.
change in the graffiti culture, what would it be?
I don't think there's anything I would change. You know, I'm kind of happy with how it turned out and
Okay.
how it's progressed over the years. You know, whether it's been harder. If anything, there's more beauty in it being more difficult. And if it was completely accepted, you know, from the get go, you know, you know, and I don't see there's much to change. Honestly, if anything, it'd be nice if it went back to the way it used to be.
Gotcha.
You know, but still, you know, it's progressing and it's getting even better and better each day. And you know, we're all getting with the times.
Last question I got for you, brother, before getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite sneakers to paint in?
My favorite sneakers to paint in. It's a variation, but at the moment it's Vans.
Vans?
Yeah, they're not the most comfortable, that's for sure.
But that's what you like to paint in.
Yeah, I mean, cause I just like the style of Vans.
Any
Yeah.
Vans or a particular van?
Authentic Vans at the
Authentic Vans.
moment. Yeah, I mean, I was painting with Strays a
What are
while.
those?
It's like a variation of Vans where it's similar style, just different brand.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but I kind of like their style too, their style model of shoe. But as for comfortability, mm, still Vans. Yeah.
Gotcha. Again, brother, I just want to thank you for stopping by and sitting down with me and chatting for a bit. I really appreciate your time. Shout out to the whole Bakersfield. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we get out of here?
Mm, Dude, Buge, Aussie, Swan, Copy, Acro. I can name the whole crew. Scheme, Halo, the whole BMC crew.
Shout out the whole BEMC crew. Again, thank you. Make sure to head over to gotnocontrol.com, grab yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie, and so much more. This allows us to be a little bit more financially stable to keep the travel and bring you guys in all this in-depth content. Also, make sure to check out Mural Spray, sponsor this episode. We're here at Mural Spray Graffiti Shop in downtown Bakersfield. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm here. Till next time. Peace.